do one I'm on scene. I'll be assuming Caroline Street Command. I got a 2.5-story wood occupied multiple dwelling. I got heavy fire from the second floor Charlie side. I have an exposure on the Delta side. We have one line stretch not in operation yet. Primary searches are underway. Status of the fire is doubtful. One passing command. I'm on the first line. Service speed advised. They're on scene. 2-story wood frame. I got heavy fire from the Alpha side.
Welcome, fans of the Volley Chief. This is Chief Lenart back again for another episode. Continuing my special guest series, and got somebody from someplace so remote I didn't even put it on the options list for where you're from. But I'm talking to Brian. Brian's the chief of the Goodrich, North Dakota Fire Department. I'm going to give Brian a chance here to introduce himself, and so take it away, Brian.
Thanks again for inviting me, David. This is my first time doing a podcast, and it's my first. I didn't even listen to any of your podcasts or anything, so I'm gonna be honest with that. So I figured now I can take in more on my drive home later today. So again, I'm Brian Galvin of the Goodrich Rural Fire Protection District. I just say Goodrich Fire Department because it's easy. We're in the middle of North Dakota. So the population has returned back to the home before homesteading happened. So we have a couple townships which no one lives. So 36 square miles, nobody lives in them. And so we cover about 375 square miles, and we have about 400 people around that live in our area. But then when the hunting season gets up there, we get up to around 1,000.
Okay, so hold on. So you cover 375 square miles.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
a lot bigger than the 5 square miles that I cover.
Oh my goodness, 5 square miles. Yeah. So it's always interesting when I talk to people. I talked to some friends out east, and they have the same area, 375 square miles, but they cover like 2 million people. So, it's all relative when it's not, and so I started I've been a volunteer since 2001, and what else? I got my firefighter 1 and 2 done in 2004, around there. And then I just recently got my fire instructor 1 done in 2018. And so I teach throughout the state of North Dakota, and I also serve on some boards and stuff like that. And I am an elected fire chief. So it's kind of one of those, you either get I think mine was a soft coup, because they said, we're voting for you tonight to become fire chief. And so I thank you, I guess. So that's how I became fire chief. I take the job very serious, probably more serious than anybody else. So I got to work on my 20-year plan, because I said, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So I started a 20-year plan, and came up with a 20-year budget with replacement values. So I had to phone some friends that are good in Excel, and go from there. So I like doing a lot of software training and stuff like that. So if you have problems, you don't understand how to enter stuff in our software that we report into, I help other departments. I try getting everybody reporting their data and their calls. So that's kind of my little things that I like to do. I never thought I'd be a person on the radio and TV and such, and at the Capitol building. And now I'm more of an advocate for the fire service than I've ever been. So yeah, that's kind of my little thing.
So now, obviously, this is, to me, it's mind blowing, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm Googling here, the county that I live in is, we don't have counties in Connecticut, fun Connecticut fact. So, they dissolved them. But, the county that I lived in, your town covers more than half the size of that, your district. But I mean, you have 400 people. How many apparatus do you have?
So we have 2 engines, and we have 1 tanker or tender, depending on what kind
Right,
of
for
nomenclature you use. And then we have 1 grass rig. So that, yeah, it's well, every fire chief knows that you're up against gear that it's expiring. We have some gear that we bought back in 2000. It's never seen a fire. It's still mint after I ran it through a washer, and it still looks mint. Never seen a
Right,
fire,
yeah, but it's 20 years old.
but it's 20 years
I get
old.
it. I get it.
So I've worked with a couple other the professional side and other volunteer departments that are a little more financially secure than us, and so I've worked hard at getting um, 2 fire engines donated to us, completely stocked with everything you need. All I had to do was put water in it, and that was a huge blessing to our department.
It's like a chia
Uh,
pet.
yeah, and then we also um, we had 29 sets of gear donated to us. Um, uh, let's see, another 1,200 feet of 5-inch hose, and um, let's see, 29 pairs of boots, leather boots, and on and on. I could go on and on. And I'm like,
And
wow.
how many members do you have?
So we only have like 25 members.
Okay.
And
And then,
on
so
the
what's the hierarchy? You as chief, you have an assistant, and then,
yep. So we have a chief that's elected, and then we have assistant chief that's also elected. And then last year I appointed a captain and a lieutenant. And so I gave them through the board part of it um, the authority as chief if I'm not there. So they have the same powers that a chief would have on the backside.
so
So
now how long are your response times? I mean, I can imagine that
um
covering
so
that size of an area.
so response times are always, well, they're long because you got to drive everywhere. So like our closest Walmart's 80 miles away. So, it's all perspective, but I like to use turnout times because that's apples to apples and we're all getting compared to the same. And so my goal is to have a truck out the door, period, a truck out the door within 10 minutes of the dispatch of the page. So we achieve that probably 75% of the time, 70% of the time. I could send you all the data if you want. I
No,
love
but
data.
and then so you have ghost towns basically that you cover, like towns that
Correct. We have well, we are an incorporated city. And then we only have 100 people in our town. So I know everybody. I know what doors, I know where everybody lives, what they drive, everything. So which is weird. But it's truly
it's funny because where I am, we're in the smallest city in the state of Connecticut, and it's again 5 square miles, but there's 14,000 people living in 5 square miles, and we joke because like we say, well, we're from a small town, we know everybody. You really are from a small town
literally
where yeah.
know everybody. Yeah, and you know, like you don't need Facebook or anything to know everything that's going on. You just, put your ear to the ground and literally you can hear everything going on.
I'm
And
assuming no
so,
hydrants.
so we have 22 hydrants in our town. And during our last ISO, well, so we'll talk a little about ISO because that's another apples to apples, you know. So when I joined uh, the department that I'm on, um, it was around a 9 or a 10, right in that cutoff area. And so I was like, I can't do this no more. And I, not saying anything anybody did any wrong, but nobody knew what was next and how to do it. And so um, so I took the whole ISO thing and started doing we didn't how we kept track of reports. We just wrote it on a 3-ring binder, and we just wrote um, John Smith fire. That's all. We didn't put who was there. We didn't do anything, and we just had a date and John Smith's fire. And so I love history and data and stuff. So through that process, I built a form that we can enter into our state reporting. And then we went from an ISO 910, and then we started getting down to an 8. And then we started doing more core stuff for the ISO part as a core group. And without the core fire department, because you always have the core people that are in it on the volunteer side and on the paid side too. I've seen it in there, you know who's in it and who's not. So we got down to a 7, and now we just got done with our review last summer or the summer before. Time's irrelevant. and so we're currently at a 6. And so when I first became chief, I was like, here's my goal, here's my vision, and here's the direction I want to go. I want to get down to an ISO 5 or a 4. That's my personal goal. Can I achieve it? It's a lot of work to get to a 4 and a 5, but it's manageable. You can do it, and we're planning to do an ISO water shuttle this summer, which I think will get us down to a 5, and then doing a lot more specific ISO training will get us down to a 4. So
now, how often do you do? Seems to be weekly is the norm. Weekly training evolutions and stuff. How often do you guys train? How do you?
So we in the winter time we do monthly training, and we do.
I'm assuming your winters are like brutal.
The ice.
Or...
well, this winter it's balmy, and so last winter, which is the other side of winter, the dark side, and so in my backyard we had 25 feet of snow in my backyard, and it was an average temperature of like 10 degrees. So you'd get a week of minus 30, not a problem. So that has its own problems too. But for example, the water right now, if you go out on a lake or whatever, is about 2 feet down of ice. So, and it's a normal winter.
Right.
So it's a balmy normal winter. So yeah, so on the ISO thing, that's my goal. And I'm a lot more aggressive and a little more passionate. And so that's helped me work with a couple other fire departments to help them. Nobody knows where to start. And I think that's probably the hardest part of where it's so big and so monstrous. You don't even, like, I could do this job 80 hours a week and not even scratch the surface because there's so much work to do. And so I have another job, so I can't donate all my time to the fire department. So I try to do specific things to help even everything out. But yeah, like
how does your I'm this again, size matters, right?
yeah.
So what your communication system? I mean, are again in my departments that I work for, we're small, small areas, 5 square miles, 20 square miles. And like, we have dead spots in the radios. We can't talk, like hear it. Like how, I mean, you guys, I'd imagine, do you, are you using, what kind of radio system are you guys using or?
Oh boy, you've opened the biggest can of worms.
I mean, these are just the things that I'm thinking of. I mean, what is your longest, if you had to go to the edge of your district, how long of a ride is that?
It's about 30 minutes to get there. Plus the turnout time.
Right,
So
right, right.
40 minutes from the dispatch to the time we get there.
I mean, pretty much
And
where I sit, if I go 40 minutes in any direction, I'm in a different state.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's perspective, right?
Yeah, right. That's
Um,
why to me it's just like holy crap. Like I get annoyed going across town. It's like it takes like 6 minutes. It's like
so what you mentioned, because we have an um eight department mutual aid agreement.
okay.
So we do mutual aid up to an hour away.
And what's your call volume per year?
Oh, okay. You should be sitting down because this is the part where I love to say it. So take a guess. How many calls?
I couldn't. I mean, I honestly I
Just
couldn't.
just
250?
I would love to have that many. I would love. No, we get like 30 calls
Oh my God, a year.
a year.
Wow.
A year. So when you have such a low call volume, all of us, all of us departments, we around us, we all have about the same, under 100. And so that makes everything even more
Yeah,
catastrophic.
because like one of the things we always say is that the more calls, the busier you are, the better the department runs because nobody's got time
Nobody's got
for,
time
right, right. You
for
don't have time for someone to start something because you're so busy with calls. The more fires, the more calls you get. Do you have any interstate highways coming through? Do you?
we have a major east to west 2-lane highway, and it depends on the year on what we get for car accidents. Usually we get 3-4 car accidents. We're due. Like you look at the history, and we just had a structure fire. So we're done. We check that mark, so we're good.
Right.
I'm looking at the history, just looking at history,
Right.
raw
Oh yeah,
numbers.
because like I mean I did the same things, right? Like usually again we do a lot of mutual aid around here, even though we're
Yep.
but we would go to a fire a month, and it would be you figure you do 12 fires a year, and at one point in the year I looked and I'm like, well, we already went to 12 fires, probably could call it a day, but
Correct.
right, and I
Correct.
agree with you with playing the numbers,
Yep.
and that's a awesome like point, your statistical average, we
What's
do,
normal?
right, we do, it was around like the mid 700s a year for call volume. And you could break it down by month, you could break it down, it's almost, to a day. And there would be days where you'd have like the past couple of days here, it's been terribly rainy, cold, not anything like what you have, but, and, you look and here come the water leaks and here come the flooding calls. And it's like, oh, you did like 14 calls today. So in the back of your mind, you say, so for a couple of days, we should be good.
Correct. Correct. Um, it was a couple years when North Dakota was pretty much uh, in a drought, and there was only a few fire departments that were not out. We were at a 200-acre fire, grass fire, and to the southeast of us, there was a fire departments getting called. To the south, there was fire departments getting called. And then we had another call happen while we were kind of halfway through that call. And so we broke off a truck, sent it up there and to the other call. And so it was insane. You looked across the horizon and all you saw was the apocalyptic doom of like smoke columns. It was, yeah. But mutual aid matters.
Oh, yeah.
And but what I've been trying to do is do more joint training with fire departments because we're all small. We don't get a large call volume, and so we've been working on Monday night. We just had a auto extrication tool refamiliarization prior to our class coming up here, and so you want to get everybody used to using the tools and stuff. So we're opening up pop cans of water, um, and we're crushing cans and stacking cans and stuff like that. So, um, you know, and we train on each other's trucks, train on each other's equipment, um, and that. So you have to play nice in each other's toolbox because if um, they only have 6 people show up to a call and you only have 6 people, at least you have 12 people total, which is pretty much what you want. And there's other times where um, the dirty side, and I'm probably going to get some hate mail, and you're probably going to get some fan club mail. But there's times where I grab the engine and I go to a call that's it was you'll have to look up Hertzfield, North Dakota, and there was a large warehouse, chemical warehouse, that caught on fire. And I was the first one there, and I was there for 5-10 minutes before anybody showed up. And I pulled out a 2.5 inch line. I packed up, and I'm fire chief. Typically fire chiefs do not pack up. We do not go into buildings. I'll go into structure fires and stuff. There's other people that are more that they are capable of running parts of the scene um, to keep things active, but the operation still has to go. We still have to put out the fire, or I just let rain do our work. Um, it's one of those things that the work still needs to be done. So
Right, because I mean, like, again, to me, this is mind blowing because
fascinating, isn't it?
right, it is because like we talk about here in our area, the downside of the volunteer fire department and the fact that we're losing members, and like we get a structure fire and we only get 20 or 30 guys, and like,
Love that.
yeah, like. And we're like, oh God, we have nobody. For the first 10 minutes, there was like 12 of us. And
Okay.
yeah.
So on that same line, a house fire, because the one we just had, the first 10 minutes, 12 minutes was just 3 people. 3 people on a
Yeah.
house fire.
And
And
it's reality. It's not,
it's reality.
it's just the reality of the situation. Like you said, you're covering, just an area the size of a county in other parts of the country.
Yep.
And there's 20 of you, it's volunteer. So various times who's at work, who's busy, whose kids are sick, who's not coming out. And when it happens 20, 30 times a year, it's, yeah, I would say it's fascinating.
Fascinating.
It is.
But on the thing, because I came from a different volunteer department, and we, the trucks were taken care of, and everything was ready to go all the time. And so I came with that foundation, and the fire chief um, that was working alongside me, he would actually wash the engine when we're done with the call, and he would chamois it. And if it wasn't done, the whole side needs to get rewashed. And that's his expectation. So, he's the chief. It's his last expectation. His expectation is this. So, I came into this department, and half the equipment was running. The other half was negotiable. So I'm like, well, we need to start doing something because someone's going to get hurt.
Right.
And um, so this is probably the horror story of it all. And, because firefighting is scary. It's dangerous, yay, danger. And we're all adrenaline junkies, and we're all conscious of the danger. but we're also kind of dumb too. And so on a conservation effort, someone took a penny and put it in a smoothbore and then drilled out the penny. So it was uh, like an 1/8 inch. And so doing this was meant to conserve the water. And my expectation is when we get there, after 10 minutes, the fire should be doing something. It should be going down from whenever we arrive. That's my expectation as fire chief. And I'm like, we need to be doing everything we can to reset our time because we drive 45-minute drive,
Right, right.
you know, or 10 minutes after the call, because people always delay. I don't know if I should call. And on my Facebook page, I always on the Goodrich Fire Department Facebook page, I always push, early 911, early 911. And and that has actually helped us more because the fire hasn't gotten crazy yet. And so that is my tactical side of using, the
Yeah, I just like I said,
fascinated. I
I'm
know you
fast.
are.
I mean, I am. I'm just the thought of like I think of what I have to deal with here and how what the size differences and the complaints that my guys have that
Nope,
yeah.
nope. And I have, I have friends that are on the Bismarck Fire Department, West Fargo, Fargo, and we talk tactics and stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm confident in my skills and my mindset because it's all mindset, and you mentally rehearse doing everything, and I can walk you through the whole thing of what I'm going to do because I do it at the same time every time. Um, and I'm that predictive, and I'm like, oh, 1 3/4 smooth bore line, 200 feet, pre-connected, cross lay. Um, I love that line. That is the best line for a low staffed, minimum staffed, and I'm probably going to get some hate mail too by that. But our tank water, we always get that rusty stuff because our stuff in our tanks always pits out and falls, and it clogs up our combination nozzles. So I'm I'm a smooth bore lever for that reason. For that
I'm
reason,
following you on Facebook now.
yeah,
I thought, yep, Goodrich Fire Department here. Goodrich Rural
yes.
Fire Department.
So
But
we're at I think we're at 1,100 around there now for followers.
yes,
And
yep.
so when we first started, it was like 200. And I I think the reason why, um, and this is probably more of a shout out to the Facebook and the social media and stuff. But on the Engine Company Resurrection Facebook page, that's where I met a lot of great people that are equally invested into engine work. I don't do ladder work or tower work or truck work.
You don't have one, so it would be tough.
I don't have one. So
Right.
I'm like, we
You
do
you
engine work.
right. I mean, and it's funny because I've been uh obviously my latter career I went to the heavy rescue, but I was on one of the busiest engines in the city for a very long period of time. And like you said, to me, I loved engine work. I love stretching a line. I love being on the nozzle. That's kind of to me, that's where it's at. But I
It is where it's at.
yeah, it is. It is.
I'll fight you for it too. Yeah.
And I
No,
know this. I know that. Again, I'm fascinated by this, and I know that
fascinating.
we can go on and on, but we're coming up on a half hour, and I like to keep the
I
shows,
know.
to a half hour. But Brian, I want to have you back.
See,
I do.
because whenever I talk to other people well, I don't have many networks on the West Coast, but more on the East Coast and through the Midwest, and and I'm always fascinated too. Whenever I see a fire truck parked, I'm guaranteed my wife hates it because I'm like, I got to go up and talk to them and stuff like that because it is the brotherhood and it is the tradition that I'm always fascinated with Ben Franklin and how he came up with the whole the fire service concept and and I'm getting a little goosebumpy because it's cool. It's just
It is, and
it's cool.
again, I'm glad we talked today. I'm
Yeah.
definitely, you're definitely on the invite again list.
Oh, good.
So yeah, but I thank you. I mean, and this is one of the things I was very excited about, with reaching out is hearing stories from around the country, and we sit in our little kingdom here and we think, well, this is kind of how it's got to be everywhere, right? Like,
Yeah,
I have,
exactly.
right, I have, 5 engines, a ladder, and they're new, they're rotated out. We buy turnout gear every year, and you're fighting City Hall for 5 more sets of gear, and I'm thinking like it's the end of the world. And it's like, here, you guys, you're relying on donated gear. And
Yeah.
it really, thank you for coming on today and giving us this perspective. Chief Galvin of the Goodrich, North Dakota Rural Fire Protection District. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to part 2 of this episode.
Well, if anybody wants to reach out to me or whatever, I'm on Facebook and send me messages if you have any questions or whatever. And I love helping other small departments. Definitely um, get back to what they're supposed to do, and
Thank you.
and that's what we all should be doing.
Yes, thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great day. Stay safe.
FD1's back in service. Commands terminated.